What if I told you that God started solving some of your biggest problems long before you even knew they existed? What if the struggle you're facing today isn't a surprise to heaven? And what if the answer you've been praying for is already moving toward you, even though you can't see it yet? Stay with me, because the story we're about to uncover reveals one of the most comforting truths in the entire Bible. It begins at a wedding in Cana. Everything looked perfect. People were celebrating. Families were gathered together. Joy filled the air. But behind the scenes, a crisis was developing. The wine was running out. In that culture, this wasn't a small inconvenience. It was a disaster. The bridegroom's family could face embarrassment and shame for years. Yet something remarkable happened. The groom didn't know. The guests didn't know. Even the master of the banquet didn't know. Only Mary noticed. Think about that. Before anyone else saw the problem, Mary saw it. And this reveals something powerful about God's heart. Many times, before we recognize danger, before we understand what's happening, before we even begin to pray, God already sees the entire situation. Nothing catches him by surprise. Not your financial struggle, not your broken relationship, not your anxiety, not your future. He already knows. Mary quietly approached Jesus and simply said, "They have no more wine." No panic, no dramatic speech, just trust. And perhaps that's exactly what prayer is supposed to be. Not trying to control God, not trying to force an answer, but bringing our need to Him with faith. Then Jesus responds with words that seem confusing. "My hour has not yet come." To many people, it sounds like a refusal. But Mary reacts in a surprising way. She turns to the servants and says, "Do whatever he tells you." Why was she so confident? Because she knew Jesus. She trusted his heart, even when she didn't understand his timing. And that's where many believers struggle today. We trust God when we get immediate answers. But can we trust him when he seems silent? Can we trust him while we're waiting? Then Jesus gives an unusual instruction. He tells the servants to fill large stone jars with water. Imagine their confusion. The problem was wine. Why water? The servants could have questioned him. They could have argued. Instead, they obeyed. And this is where the miracle begins. Not when the water became wine, but when obedience appeared before understanding. Many people want God to explain everything first, but often God asks us to trust first. The servants carried ordinary water, yet they were participating in something extraordinary. And maybe that's true for you today. Maybe your prayers seem ordinary. Maybe your daily acts of faith seem small. Maybe nothing dramatic is happening, but God may be working behind the scenes in ways you cannot yet see. Then suddenly, everything changes. The water becomes wine. Not average wine, the best wine. And here's the lesson many people miss. Jesus didn't simply replace what was lost. He provided something better. Could it be that God wants to do the same in your life? Maybe a door closed because a better one is coming. Maybe a delay is preparing you for something greater. Maybe the season you're struggling through today is leading to a blessing you cannot yet imagine. Because God's plan is rarely limited to what we can see in the moment. The people at Cana thought they had a wine problem. God was preparing a miracle. You may think you have one problem. God may be preparing an answer far bigger than the one you're asking for. So if you're waiting today, don't lose hope. If heaven seems silent, don't assume heaven is absent. Remember Cana. Remember the servants. Remember Mary's faith. And remember this truth: the same Jesus who transformed water into wine is still working today, even when you can't see it, even when you don't understand it, even when it feels like nothing is happening. Because God often begins His greatest miracles long before anyone notices. And perhaps at this very moment, He's already working on yours.